macOS Ventura 13.2 released to the public today. This is available to all macOS Ventura supported devices everywhere around the world at the exact same time. So if you go to macOS Ventura's website, I'll link this in the description, you can see that it's basically supporting 2017 and later Macs, with the exception of a few different ones such as Mac Pro, Mac Studio, and Mac Mini and MacBook Air. Everything else is 2017 and later. Now, as far as the overall size, this came in at 1.55 gigabytes. This is on a 16-inch M1 Max MacBook Pro, and this update does add a few new features, bug fixes, and security updates. Apple also released this alongside iOS 16.3, iPadOS 16.3, watchOS 9.3, iOS 15.7.3, and iPadOS 15.7.3 for older devices, and even iOS 12.5.7 for even older devices. However, initially they released tvOS 16.3 and HomePodOS 16.3, but have appeared to hold that and probably will release it at a later date, as the actual timestamp on their website said the 25th, so maybe they'll release it in a couple days. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. So we'll go to the Apple in the upper left, click on About This Mac, and as you can see here, if we click on macOS Ventura 13.2, it gives us the build number of 22D49. This is the same build that we had with the release candidate. So macOS 13.2 RC, it's the same thing. So if you're a beta tester or developer, you just had it early. And if you want to continue receiving betas, leave the beta profile in place. If not, remove the beta profile and you just had the update a little bit earlier than the public. Now, as far as what's new, well, the first thing has to do with wallpaper. If we go into our system settings and then we go to our wallpapers, there's a couple new ones. And you'll see light and dark desktop. You'll see a green one and a purple one. If we click on that, there's light and dark versions of that. You'll see there's the purple one, so it looks pretty good. Light and dark, we can change it to light so you can see that, or dark, and it gets a little bit darker. So those two have been added, and those are in response to the latest MacBook Pro updates with the M2 Pro and M2 Max. So those are the new wallpapers for that, and they included them in macOS 13.2. Additionally, if we click on our Apple ID at the top, under our Apple ID, if we click on Password and Security, under Password and Security, we'll wait for it to load here. If you scroll down, you'll now have the option for security keys. Apple included this with iOS 16.3 as well, and its physical security keys provide a strong form of two-factor authentication. These are FIDO-enabled security keys. If we click on Learn More, you'll see it gives some information about them. Security keys, I actually use a Google Titan key, but as long as it's maybe a YubiKey that's FIDO certified, you could use that as well. And it allows you to add that to log into your Apple ID. So if we click on Add, give it just a moment, wait for it to load, and then we'll be able to add them. You'll see here it says a FIDO certified security key is a third-party hardware that you can use for two-factor authentication when you sign in. And then it says strongest account security replaces verification codes. You will need two keys though, one for a backup. So we'll click Add Security Keys, and it tells you what I just said here. You'll need two keys. Click Continue, and then what you'll do is plug in the key to the side of your Mac and then have it pair. That way it will actually enable that key, and you'll be able to use that as your actual device key to log into Apple ID. This is taking a moment though, so let's see what it says. We'll need to put in our password, and it says add the first key. So if you're going to add keys, plug them into the side of your Mac, whether that's USB-A or USB-C, and you can pair them. You can also use NFC security keys with your iPhone or your iPad, depending on what's supported. So if you have a USB-C security key like I do, I can use the NFC portion for the iPhone, USB-C for the iPad Pro. Additionally, if you go into your account and then click on iCloud, within iCloud, if you scroll down, you'll have Advanced Data Protection. Advanced Data Protection wasn't rolled out with 16.3, but is now available around the world. It was originally available in just a few countries, or just mostly the USA. Now you can enable this and use it around the world. It allows for device backup encryption, messages backup encryption, and end-to-end encrypts all of the different things you can see here with voice memos, reminders, Safari bookmarks, notes, and photos. So it's a nice little security update. So if you want to use that, you should be able to enable that here as well as on your iPhone and iPad. With macOS 13.1, we actually had the introduction of Freeform. Freeform is an app that allows you to collaborate, and you can see here's the app here. You can use this across different devices such as your iPhone, your Mac, and iPad. Now it's actually fixed an issue where Freeform sometimes would not show the drawing strokes created with Apple Pencil or your finger. Sometimes on a shared board, it just wouldn't show. Now it's been resolved. Also, they've resolved an issue with VoiceOver. So if you're using VoiceOver with accessibility, and maybe while this is enabled, sometimes you're going to type, occasionally it wouldn't actually work properly. It would stop offering audio feedback while you're typing. That's been resolved with macOS 13.2. Additionally, there are no other changes listed, so this is a fairly small update as far as new features and updates. Additionally, there's some security updates. Apple's already listed it on their security website, and you can see that here. And I'll link this in the description, but as you scroll down, you'll see all of the updates today with macOS Monterey updates, Big Sur updates for security, and all of the other versions I mentioned earlier. If we go to macOS Ventura 13.2, you can see the specific security updates for this update. And we have things such as Apple mobile file integrity, we have disk arbitration, and much more. Kernel updates, maps, Safari, even weather and WebKit. And if you're curious about what these are, you can see that here. Reading under impact, it says an app may be able to bypass privacy preferences. In order to fix it, that's the description, the issue was addressed with improved memory handling. And then it gives information about who may have reported this. So these are all of the updates, so I would definitely install this just for the updates. And of course, if you're on the previous versions with macOS Big Sur or Monterey, make sure you install those updates as well, as those are important for security patches. Otherwise, I wouldn't expect any new features here, and probably we won't see any major updates until we see macOS 14 in June. I've noticed no difference in performance or anything else, however it could take a few days to know, and I've been running it on my Mac at home with Final Cut Pro. It seems to work fine with Pro apps, and I really haven't run into any issues as far as that goes. As far as battery, since we're on the MacBook Pro, thought we'd go into that since many of you ask me how health is after some time. And if we click on that, you'll see we're down to 99%. This is an M1 Max MacBook Pro 16-inch, and this is fine. This is managed completely by itself. It's plugged into a Mac Studio display, and I really don't look at it. I leave it plugged in most of the time, and it keeps the charge lower to optimize battery, and then also will bump it up to 100 if I need to use it. But in general, it's working just fine. Really haven't had any issues. So far, the update seems to be great on MacBook as well as far as battery. As far as future updates, well, macOS 13.3 will probably be out in beta form as soon as tomorrow. And also, we expect 13.3 to actually launch with the next round of updated Macs. Mac Pro, maybe an updated iMac, or something else that we're not expecting. Either way, it looks like some of those might be in testing from initial leaks people have found online. So we could have Mac Pro in the future. We're still waiting for that. Apple passed their 2-year mark, and we were expecting that, and so far we haven't seen it. So we could have that, and also expect tvOS and HomePodOS to release with 16.3 in a day or so. I'm surprised we haven't seen it yet. So not much more to talk about with this update. If you found anything more, though, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And of course, if you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, it will be linked in the description as it always is. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.